Did Cosmic Brushes create the most beautiful green neutral palette ever? Hey y'all, it's Heather, and I'm so excited because I have the new Undergrowth palette from Cosmic Brushes. We have a beautiful, beautiful new release with this undergrowth inspiration, giving us this beautiful, like woodland forest, murky, green, brown color story inside. Cosmic Brushes sent me this palette early, so we are going to be doing live swatches, eye swatches, comparisons, tutorials. I'm going to have it all for you in this video so that you can really see how this palette performs. I love testing and trying new makeup, and I want to be as helpful to you as possible. I want to tell you how every shade performs. I want you to know what you're getting if you decide to purchase this palette. At the time that I'm posting this video, the palette is not available right now. I will put the launch date and time in the description box, and I will also put it in a pinned comment. Cosmic Brushes is an independently owned brand, and they are known for having a great price point and a great formula. They're not a brand that's just good for the price. They're just an amazing brand. Green is my favorite color, so this palette is right up my alley. I really love the mix of tones, and I also really like that this palette goes from light to dark, and we do have a lot of different formulas in this palette. I definitely feel like this palette has a gorgeous color story to take us into fall. We definitely have those kind of murky tones, but I really feel like it's going to be a year-round palette for me. The seasons don't tell me what to do with my makeup, but it is fun to take inspiration. I do have an affiliated code with Cosmic Brushes. It is Heather. If you're ever shopping their site, you can get a discount using that code, and I have tons of videos on Cosmic Brushes here on my channel. But I'm excited. I'm gonna grab an eyeshadow primer, and we are gonna start with eye swatches. We are gonna be doing live swatches on my hand, and I'm gonna do eye swatches. I want you to be able to see how these shades perform. I want you to be able to see the quality, the blend, the shift, everything. So I am going to be using an eyeshadow primer because I always use eyeshadow primer. I have deep set eyes, I have oily skin. It's a must for me. I also like to just start with like a blank canvas. I don't want any discoloration peeking through my lids. We're just going to go row by row. So I'm going to start with this shade and this shade right here. First, I'll swatch on my hand. That beautiful, beautiful matte kind of like pastel-y green, almost like a neon pastel, right? And then we have this beautiful shimmer right there. Two kind of more light shades. I'm gonna throw on my eyeshadow primer and we'll eye swatch. I'm gonna start by just kind of swiping the shade with my finger across my lid. I don't really like to apply my makeup with my fingers. I like to use brushes, but for these eye swatches, I just want to show you kind of what running my finger across the lid will give me. That's a beautiful light green shade, and then I will go in with my brush, and I want you to see when I can kind of cover a larger area and kind of blend in case you want to use these shadows for like a one and done look. And a one and done look would be one eyeshadow and you're done. So this shade is really beautiful with a lot of really pretty sparkle. Okay, I'm going in with that second shade. So I just want to show you applied with my finger how it looks first. And then I'm gonna grab a brush. This is a very pretty shade. It's very pigmented, but it is a very light shade. So these types of shades usually have a lot of white in them. So they're gonna show up best and truest if you use them on a very light eyeshadow base or primer or something like that. Even a true white can be super duper beautiful and just really make these shades pop. Black bases for your eyeshadows will make things stand out more, white bases, things like that. Have fun with it, switch it up, use colored bases sometimes. I'm just going with my regular eyeshadow primer, and you can see how pigmented and bright and vibrant this is. I do like using a base that's a kind of this tone, a little bit lighter. I think it does make the shadows pop more, but it's not too high contrast against my skin. So here we have the first two shades. We have that beautiful, beautiful shimmer, and we have this gorgeous light poppy matte shade. The next two shades we have to swatch are these two beautiful green matte shades. Here is the shade Algae. That's really, really pretty. Mattes aren't quite as fun to swatch, but I do think it will be helpful to see them kind of blended on the eyes, because then you can see like how pigmented they are, how easy they blend, if they get patchy, things like that. This is the shade Fern. Here is the shade Algae. There it is just with my finger. Now I'm gonna grab a brush. Cosmic Brushes makes really beautiful, easy to blend, pigmented mattes. I've never had any problem with their mattes, so I have high hopes for this palette. That one to me is looking pigmented, it's blending easily. I did swatch a shimmer shade over here, so if you see any like sparkle, it's because I didn't get the shimmer all off my eye. It can be so hard without like completely washing my face off instead of just using a little makeup remover. So this is a matte shade. I'm not really seeing any sparkle, but it is possible that I left some behind. Coming over here, I'm gonna swatch the shade Fern. I'm just gonna tap that on with my finger. I hate applying shadows with my fingers because like my deep set eyes, it's just so hard to like get in there, but there's that shade. Let me grab a brush. It's gonna look so much better blended with a brush. It really is. I'm just going to kind of buff this around. I really like the tone of this green. It's very, very much like a 70s green or something. I don't know, kind of swampy. I'm into it. Here's Algae and here's Fern. I swatched. Beautiful. It's like my dream come true being covered in green eyeshadow all day. I like both of these. Both pigmented, easy to blend, looking great. Okay, y'all, let's go in with more swatches. My eyes are already protesting, but it's gonna be okay. We're gonna swatch the last shade on this row called Wilderness. Then we're gonna jump down to our second row and we'll swatch this beautiful matte shade called Nettle. Here is the shade Wilderness. Really pretty, really sparkly shadow. I'm excited to get that on the eye. And here we have the shade Nettle. There's something so satisfying about a swatch. I know, like, it's just, I love to swatch. It's so fun. We'll put Wilderness right here. Just kind of drag that across with my finger. Then I'm grabbing my brush and I'm gonna apply it that way. I know so many people like to apply shadows with their fingers. I just can't get in all my little wrinkles and crinkles with my finger. I feel like I need a brush, and I feel like it's almost like more gentle on my eye to use a brush. But hopefully seeing with the finger and then with a brush is helpful. We'll put the matte shade Nettle right over here on this eye. Okay, because of my like deep set eyes, my bone right here is why it kind of like swatches that way, but you can see that it's pigmented. So let me grab a brush to blend. Oh, that is beautiful. Do y'all see how deep and dark that shade is and how like intense? That's gorgeous, but I'm gonna blend so y'all can see how easy their shadows blend too. So if you want to go in and like kind of buff this shade out, you can get less of an intense shade if you want. So see, I'm keeping it darkest here and then I'm not adding any shadow to my brush, and as I buff out and up, you can use that one shade and it kind of looks like I have two shades on my eyes. It looks like I have a dark shade and then a light shade, but in reality it's just the one shade. 1, I love a shimmer shadow. 2, I love a shimmer shadow. And 3, I love a shimmer shadow. It just makes me so happy. Like, and the reflex of that shade, I think it's just a really beautiful, beautiful color. And then this matte shade is dark and intense, but blendable and so yummy. Like, I want to be an alligator queen in this shade, like ruler of the swamp. There's something so like deeply, darkly, swampy, ethereal about it, and I'm so here for it. Looking at these swatches next to each other on my hand, I feel like this would be a really beautiful look. And of course, I'm going to be showing you looks in this video, but if you want some extra inspiration, stick with these 6 colors for a look. These look so beautiful together. The top row plus that deep shade right here. Beautiful. The next 2 shadows we have are Undergrowth and Murky. I'm gonna put Undergrowth right here. Oh, that shade is so pretty. Look at how like shiny that shade is. Like, do you see it? I know you see it. It's pretty. The next shade we have is Murky. I'll put that right there. It's a little difficult to swatch this angle, so I'm just gonna run over and make sure I got a good swatch. There's the shade Murky. Here's the shade Undergrowth. I'm gonna put that right here on this as best as I can with my finger. That's really, really pretty. Now I'll go on with my brush and just kind of blend this shade out. that shade is really, really intense and beautiful, but it's very like thin feeling on the lids and when I pick it up on my finger to swatch, which is nice. I think that's going to be a shadow that's not going to really emphasize texture or anything like that. So if you see intense shades like this and you're worried about them being just like too thick and heavy on the lids, I don't think you're gonna have an issue with this shade. It's really, really nice. And I'm not gonna overblend because I want to do pigment. I want to do pigment, but I want to carry this up so that you can really see how intense it is. If I was wearing this as a one and done shadow, I would not blend it up this high, but I just want you to really have like more surface area to see it on. That's really pretty. And if you see right here, that's not creasing in the shadow. That's like a fold in my lid. So I just like to point that out because sometimes I do see people say like, oh, you have a crease, but like it's my eye. And unless I had some type of like brow lift, I guess, surgery, it's gonna stay there. It's gonna stay there. So if you see that, just know like it's my lid. But is that not gorgeous? I'm gonna put down the matte shade Murky right in the center of my lid like this. I'm going in with my brush now to show you how pigmented and easy to blend this shade is. Really, really stunning. And if you see any sparkle, just know that this is a matte shade. The sparkle is just because I'm like dipping here, eye swatching. I may not have cleaned up all the sparkle, all of that. I'm trying my best, but a stray sparkle may get away from me. I also want to say, when I talk about sparkle in this palette, I'm not talking about pressed glitter. There are no pressed glitters in this palette, which I'm thankful for. It seems like a lot of brands are getting away from pressed glitters or are doing like just separate glitter palettes, which I enjoy. Undergrowth and Murky. I think these shades are both really beautiful. And if you are somebody who is mostly into like brown shadows, you really don't stray from browns or grays, I think that green is a really fun color to experiment with. I love just how grungy and beautiful and pigmented this matte shade is. It looks really, really beautiful, but I will come back and it will be a different day for me that I'm doing these eye swatches, because I can tell like my eyes are getting a little irritated with me and I don't want to like wreck my lids because the shadows aren't gonna apply well if I keep doing this. So you will see me looking, you know, on a different day. It's a new day. My eyes have had a little bit of a break and we are gonna swatch the shades Swamp and Bark. Here is Swamp right there, that beautiful bronzy brown, and then we'll put Bark right here. Matte blacks don't always swatch super well, but that one actually did really beautifully, so I have high hopes for it eye swatching. All right, I'm gonna swatch the shade Swamp right here on this eye, first with my finger, like that. Very pretty shade. Now I'm gonna go on that shade with a brush just so you can really see how that shadow blends and kind of pats in. That's a really pretty shade. Like, I could just blend a little bit more, bring some under the lower lash line and throw on mascara and go. I think it looks so beautiful and sparkly, but still very like neutral. Now I'm gonna go in with the matte black shadow. This is the shade Bark, and you can see that is a pigmented black. This black is really easy to get on my lid. Like, it's blending easy, it's pigmented. You can see like it's deeper here, and then as I've kind of blended it up, it's faded a bit, which we love. That means you can blend with it and it's not just like clinging to one area and not moving. It's definitely able to blend. I'm not gonna blend it out too much because I'm about to take these eye swatches off and I don't want to be fighting with black shadow all over my face, but you can definitely see how gorgeous these two shades are. Next, we're gonna swatch these two shades right here. Here is the shade Boggy. That's probably the shade in the palette that calls to me the most. It's just so pretty. I mean, maybe not. Maybe it was Undergrowth. I don't know, okay? But it calls to me. And I'm going to swatch the shade Roots right here on the lighter part of my hand so that you can see it a little better. Because it's very, like, mid-tone brown with an olive undertone, which is really a good shade for my skin tone. Like, look, if I swatch it just on my hand right here, it kind of like goes into my hand a lot. It's definitely more like brown and not a skin tone color, but it does have that warmth and that olive brown to it, like my skin undertone. Here is the shade Boggy. Just swiped across my lid with my finger. Isn't that a pretty, pretty shade? Like, oh, it's so pretty. I know I'm gonna keep saying that. Like, y'all are gonna be annoyed of me saying pretty, 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 but I cannot help it. And you can see, like, my skin is darker than my eyeshadow primer. I use an eyeshadow primer that's not like white or stark white. I'm using something that is lighter than my skin tone though, that is gonna like cancel out any redness or anything on my eyes. So if you change up the base that you're using under your eyeshadow, you're gonna change how the shade appears. Also, I can like put more pressure and give you a huge swatch on my hand, whereas on my eyes I'm definitely being more delicate. But this shade is gorgeous, it's intense, and on top of a deeper base, oh, it will be even more intense. All right, I will put that shade Roots right on top of my primer right here so you can see that color. I'm gonna put on just a little bit more so you can see more. The mattes are not as impactful in a swatch as a shimmer, but just as important. Hi, I'm Heather, and I'll be living my life in this shadow from now on, okay? Like, it's just part of me now. It's so pretty. These are the type of neutrals that I just salivate over, honestly. Like, oh, that is so pretty and pigmented and blendable, and I need to stop because I'm just about to take it off. So why? Look at these shades. Okay, now I will take them off. I had to give you a little before I could take them off because I'm feeling it. Next up, we have these two matte shades. I'll put these right here next to that matte black. You see, that's a pretty, pretty murky color. And then we have, oops, oh, dang it. I had some little black shadow right there. I did not realize. I'm gonna put it here. I'll do a little bit more. Now, this is a light, light, light shade. So this is not going to show up as true as it is if I use a very light eyeshadow base because it has like white pigment in it to make it that light, right? So these are gonna show up so much better once I put them on the eyes. And I mean, not usually putting on eyeshadow like that anyways, but do you see they may have looked a little similar in the pan, but you can definitely see how different they are swatched out. And I'm sorry, I swatched over that little bit of black shadow that had fallen on my hand, sorry. Let's get that shade Marsh on my lid. Okay, I changed my mind. This is the shade I want to wear every day. This is the shade I want to be. I want this shade always, every day, forever. Do you ever wear something and you just feel like this is my final form? This is my true self. I feel like me. That's me in green. That's me in green eyeshadow for real. Usually a shimmer, honestly. Usually a shimmer, a shifty shade, something with a lot of sparkle. But this color right here, I just want to bathe in it. I want to be it. It's everything and more, and I want to keep staring at it, but I know I have so many more shades to swatch. I just can't. Like, I love this color. This color is me. Let's press that shade on my lid. And you can see what I mean about putting it on top of a lighter base than my hand, right? Like, it's showing up more like that kind of highlighter color. Really pretty. And I will buff and I'll blend this in because this shade will be beautiful for blending out deeper colors, of course. But if you want the shade to look like this, you're really going to want to pack it on your lid rather than blending because it has that light base to it, you want to pack to do this like I did with my finger, whether it's with a brush or whatever, but it's also going to be a really beautiful blending color. So I'm going to press it on first rather than just going in and swiping, so I can really get that pigment on. And if you're seeing like a little texture on my lid, that's not these shadows, it's just the nature of eye swatches. No matter how much I prep my skin, once I've kind of put primer on, put shadow on, taken it off, let it dry, put it back on, like it's just, my lids are gonna be irritated with me, but it's fine, I'm fine, everything is fine. I just wanted to point that out because I know that I can see that texture. And if you have your phone set with the little tool, it's like, looks like a little screw either in the upper corner or the lower corner, you want to make sure you're watching my videos at the highest quality, because I am filming and uploading in high quality. You're going to be able to see that little bit of texture on my lids, and I just want you to know that that's not the shadow. That's just because I'm doing so many eye swatches. Super gorgeous, blendable, pigmented. I have not had an issue with these shadows yet, and I have used this not just in the tutorials you're gonna see, I already have all of those done, but I've been using these on days when I'm not filming too, because I don't just wear makeup when I'm filming. I love wearing makeup. I try to film my looks, but sometimes I just want to play myself. Now we're gonna swatch the shade Fireflies. This one is so gorgeous. And we're gonna swatch the shade Clay, this kind of orangey matte. We'll put Clay right there. You can see it's this really like burnt brown orange. And then I will put Fireflies right here. Isn't that pretty? Let me see, can you, oh, there, it hit the light. Both of those shadows are so pretty, like just the tones in here, y'all. So pretty, so pretty, so pretty. Okay, there. Maybe I'll get it out of my system. Let me grab my primer. Here's a finger swatch on the eye of Fireflies. Much lighter on this light base that I have going on. This is a really, really beautiful shade that has really pretty like shimmer reflex to it, so it really catches the light, and it also has a beautiful shift to it. Like, I love this, and you'll see the shades in one of the, you'll see this shades, that didn't make sense. You'll see this shade used in one of the looks coming up. There we go. I can get my words out. I can get my words out. And it's just incredibly beautiful. Now we have that matte shade called Clay. Isn't that a pretty matte shade? And look how easy it's blending. Like, hello, it's pigmented and it's easy to blend. That's what we love to see. That's what we love to see, y'all. Next, we have the shades Fungi and Reeds. Here is the shimmer Fungi. I think I went out of focus. Reeds is right here, a very light shade. Here's the shade Fungi. It's a really sparkly shade, very gorgeous. You could definitely use this as an inner corner highlight. If you're my skin tone or deeper, use it as a lid shade, you know, whatever you want to use it with. I just really like it. Here is the shade Reeds. So this is a vanilla-y type shade with a little bit of that like green undertone. So it's not going to stand out a ton. It's a really pretty light color, would be great on the inner corner, whatever. It's time for our last two shades of the palette for eye swatches. We've got Cordyceps and Sludge. Here is Cordyceps. Ooh, look at that glide. That was really satisfying. And I'll put Sludge right here. A really pretty mid-tone matte shade. We'll put on our last shimmer right on our lid here so you can see it. I swatched. It's applying really, really beautifully with the brush, like really nice. Now all over the lid, I can definitely see how it has like that kind of like a red, warm gold base to it, and then it has the different reflex that really catch the light beautifully. I'll put the shade Sludge right here. So hard to swatch a matte with my finger on the lid. Of course, this matte is applying just as nicely as the others. Like, I don't have any issues with any of the shadows in this palette. They're all beautiful. I like that this palette has a nice big mirror in here, makes it super convenient. But I want to go in, now that we've done the lab swatches on my hands, we've done swatches on the eyes, I've shown you how they blend, I've shown you all on my arm. I want to go in to some comparisons so that you can see these shades next to some other Cosmic Brushes palettes and let you know kind of my thoughts on that, and then we'll do the tutorials. Here is Undergrowth next to Muse and Serenity from Cosmic Brushes. I know that Muse and Serenity both have some green shadows in there, so I thought it would be helpful to show you these side by side. I tried to go through and see if there was anything that looked really similar, and I definitely don't think so. So if you were worried about maybe getting repeating shades, that's not gonna happen. Even the blacks are different. The black in Serenity is so deep, whereas the black in Undergrowth is a little softer. When I first saw Undergrowth, it reminded me of my favorite Natasha Denona palette, Yucca. But when I was really looking shade to shade, I didn't find any shades that were too similar. And even swatching them out, they're not the same. I will say the formulas are not comparable at all. Natasha Denona has a very different formula, different textures. Same with Cosmic Brushes, it's just very different. So it is hard to compare the two, but the color stories definitely have that same type of feel. I hope these comparisons were really helpful to you. Let's move into the tutorials. I've got my Sigma Ignite eyeshadow base on, and we're gonna start off with this shade right here. This really pretty kind of olive undertone brown called Roots. I'm gonna put this shade right in my socket. I'm not gonna bring it all the way in. I wanna keep it kind of in the outer 2/3 of my socket. So like here and then out. And I'll kind of extend that shade too so that it comes right out here. I'm gonna take this shade down to the lid too. I like to keep my lid on the outer part matte. So I'm just going to kind of press that shade on, and then I will lightly buff and blend. I absolutely love a brown with a green undertone. So beautiful. I want to use the shade right here called Fungi. I'm going to pick this up on my brush, and I'll spray my brush with setting spray before I go onto my lid. I'm going to press the shadow off my brush before I blend. I'm putting this on the lid. I'm putting this up, and I'm even going to take it into the socket where we did not carry that Roots shade. Once I have it pressed off of my brush, then I'm going to slowly start to blend, and just kind of back and forth so that it's seamless with that matte color. I'm going to go back to that first brush we used, no additional shadow, and I'll just blend to make sure that I don't have any harsh lines or anything like that. I just kind of want this to be the two shades on my lid and the socket, very like effortless. I want to go in with just a little bit of this shade right here called Murky. This is a really pretty, very muted green color, and I want to put this all on my lower lash line. I'm going to press it onto my lower lash line, and then I'm just going to lightly kind of back and forth drag it to blend. I'm really liking how simple this look is. I think it's really beautiful, like the blend, and I think the shimmer on the lid is really pretty. So I want to kind of just let that be the focus. I'm going to do a matte inner corner highlight. Grab like a fluffy brush, and I'm going to go into the shade Reeds, and I'm going to use this to put on my inner corner. I'm gonna pop it right there on the inner corner, and then I'm gonna lightly kind of blend so that the focus stays right in here on that really pretty lid shade. Cosmic Brushes always makes shadows that just perform. They just perform so well, and they're very consistent, which I really appreciate. So I think this is where we're gonna leave the look. I am gonna do liner, and I think I'm gonna do a half lash, finish up the rest of my makeup, and I'll be back. This is the finished look. I'm really happy with it. I like how soft and easy it is, very like daytime fall, and I just overall love these shades. For this look, I'm gonna prime my eyes, and we're gonna start off with this beautiful shade right down here called Marsh. I'm gonna press this shade all in my socket. I really want this color to be intense. Like, I want you to be able to see it in the look because I think it's so gorgeous. I love this tone. I love everything about it. So I'm just gonna kind of start by pressing and I'm gonna use a little bit at a time so that I don't get carried away with it, but I'm gonna put it all in my socket and out. That color is just so intense and beautiful. I love this shade. Now I want to go into the shade Fern. I'm taking this shade on my BK Beauty Nikki LaRose brush, and I'm gonna put this all on the lower lash line, buffing and blending it down, out, everywhere. Now I'm gonna go for the deeper shade right here called Nettle. I've got this on a somewhat small blending brush, and I'm gonna put it at my lid right here, just kind of pressing it on, buffing it out, down, and kind of blending it out at an angle like this. Now I'm going to pull in this orange shade called Clay. This I'm going to press right on my lid, but just on the inner part of my lid. I'm not going to pull it all the way across. I just want it right in here. So I'm going to press, and then I'm going to lightly buff and blend. Once I have it down on my lid like that, I'm going to just lightly kind of buff it up and in a little bit so that that shade really stands out, because I want to give like all the fall vibes today. Like, this is the color the trees are here at home. They're these green shades that are kind of deepening, and then we've got a few like yellow trees and a few that are becoming this orangey brown. So I want to like channel that energy. I'm gonna go back through with the first brush we used with no additional product, and I'm just gonna make sure everything is seamless and blended. Now it's time to go in with this beautiful multi-chrome right here called Undergrowth. It's so sparkly, it's so intense. I want to put it in the center of my lid, and I'm gonna spray my brush after I pick up the shadow. I'm gonna press the shadow on first. I'm just pressing it right in the center of my lid. I'm gonna bring it up above my lid right here into the socket. And then once I feel like I have most of the shadow off my brush, I'll start to blend. And I just want this to go in between our two matte shades on our lid. Now, if I were to put this all across my lid, give it tons of surface area to cover, you're gonna see the shift way more. It's gonna be a lot more strong and impactful. But I still think it can be pretty to add in a multi-chrome like this, even if it's in a small space, and it gives you that little something special that will catch the light during the day. It just won't be as impactful as if it had more area to shift in. I'm going to use the shade Fireflies to highlight my inner corner. I just want to lightly sweep this shade on the inner corner. I don't want it to be too intense. I mean, I definitely want it to like be there and give me some brightness on the inner corner and give me that shimmer and pull in like just a little bit more of these fall leafy colors that I'm seeing, but I don't want it to kind of like overwhelm the look. So I'm picking it up on my brush. I'm not spraying my brush or anything, and I'm just, you see, like kind of like lightly tapping the shadow on. I'm really happy with how this look is coming together. I do think I'm gonna throw on a lash, so I will be right back after I finish up like with just mascara, a lash, liner, but I want you to see the look. I'm so pleased with it. I'll be back. All right, y'all, here's my finished look. All of the makeup details like my lip color, the half lash, everything will be in the description box. To start off this look, we're gonna go into this brown shade down here, this really, really warm, beautiful matte color. I just wanna get this shade in my socket. I'm just kind of pressing it on, then blending. It doesn't have to be perfect. We can go back and blend some more later. I just kind of want to throw it on, messily blend it, get that color down on my lid right on top of my primer. I'm gonna grab a gel eyeliner in a pot. I'm just gonna use a black shade, and we're gonna do like a lower lash line and then a slight wing. I'm just gonna use an angled brush to apply this, and it does not have to be perfect because like I said, we're gonna go over top with the shadow, so if we need to fix it or anything like that, we can. I'm also gonna connect it a little bit just to the top lash line and the outer part of my lid. I'm gonna go into the shade Boggy, but in a minute I'm going to be using a little bit of Bark too, the deep dark kind of like black shade, but I'm going to pick up Boggy on my brush. I'm going to spray it with a little setting spray, and I'm going to slowly start to put this on top of that black liner. After I put Boggy on the wing, and I'm going to drag that to the top lash line, a little bit under the lower lash line, I'm going to swap over to Bark, the black shade, and that is what I'm going to use to kind of buff and blend out the lower lash line. To keep this super intense, I'll also put a black liner in my waterline. I'm gonna use another liner as a base for shadow. I wanna kind of put this like all in this empty space on my lid, but I wanna keep it kind of low. I don't wanna bring it up too high, and this is just gonna be a base for shadow. I wanna go on top of it with the shade Fireflies. This is kind of a shifty multi-chrome type shadow, like it has different reflex. Really beautiful, and I think it's gonna be gorgeous on top of this base. So I'm gonna put the base down, I'm gonna pick up the shadow on my brush, and I'm gonna pack it on top of that liner. I'm gonna go into this shade Vegetation. Just gonna use this to highlight the inner corner. It's gonna pull in a little bit of green. I think it's gonna be really pretty. I'm gonna see if I need to touch up my liner, do mascara and a lash, and I'll be right back. All right, y'all, here is my finished look. I just threw on a half lash and I am so into it. I really hope that y'all enjoyed these looks. I really had a good time playing with this palette. I'm so excited to keep using it. I think it is the perfect green palette and I'm obsessed. What can I say? Green is my favorite color. So I love Cosmic Brushes. I think their formula is so good. I love every single palette I have from them, and I feel like they are a very consistent brand. I have not had a palette from them yet, or a shadow in the palette where I think this is horrible. Like this one missed the quality control inspection. I don't like this shade. Like every single shade in every single palette I have from them performs beautifully. Of course, I have my personal preferences on what shades and what color stories and palettes I like the most, but this is incredible. This is a beautiful, beautiful palette, and it's a woman-owned, independently owned brand, which we love. I love that we have multi-chromes. I love that we have these beautiful, gorgeous mattes, and I really love that in this green kind of murky color story, Cosmic Brushes gave us some beautiful neutral tones, some beautiful tones that if you just want to have some brown eyeshadow one day, you can do that, and you can create soft looks using this black as your liner. You just have options with this palette, and if there's one thing about me is that I love options. If you're interested in Cosmic Brushes but maybe not this color story, I am going to pop up some Cosmic Brushes videos here so you can check them out. I do have lots of videos on their palettes, neutral palettes, colorful palettes. I just love makeup, okay? I could talk about makeup all day, every day. Let me know what you're thinking about this palette, this color story. I would love to hear from you. Check out some of my other videos and we'll talk down in the comments.